John O. Redmond, my editor, producer, and co-creator of this film, Epic, that we have just been so uplifted by the enthusiasm of the Epic fan group to get together with the same passion, I think, as we have, to make sure that this film we've made is seen by as many people as possible on the biggest screen possible. I will talk probably when I answer some questions, but more about how our whole aim here, when on the road to making Elvis the movie, we discovered all of this unseen footage, albeit negative and albeit sound missing, and there's a lot of detail about that, but to really make something that wasn't a redo of That's the Way It Is, although we've got different angles on some shots from that concert, and or Elvis on tour, but particularly as we found this never before heard audio of Elvis telling his story unfiltered, was to make a film that allowed Elvis to sing and tell his story, but also, most importantly, to let you feel like you're actually in the audience. You're participating in almost a dream concert that is both a group experience but also really personal. Anyway, that's kind of my opening thank you to everyone for all of your incredible energy and commitment. And I can see the pink Cadillacs are online. And by the way, I don't do this alone, because to be really honest with you, I'm technically pretty hopeless, which is a bad thing to say for a director. But I'm also here with my great team, Amai and Fletcher. Amai, you want to say hello? Come say hello. Right.
Hello, AP Core. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, like I would be nothing without. Fletch, what about you? Please, I'm just a puppet. I'm the front guy. Not really, but they are. It's great. Otherwise, when it comes to technical things, I mean, as you can see, I failed to get onto the first broadcast, but here we are. What about some questions, or is there anything, guys? I mean, if I could see your faces, I would simply see this as a meeting for which I'm a guest speaker. But Vian, that's so darn true. You inspire me. Thank you for everything. That's so lovely of you. And now I'm going to read out these, probably wrong, but Sadie. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I see. Thank you for your really kind thoughts about what I like to say we've done. I mean, I'm certainly the captain, but making this film, which is about to open in but a few weeks worldwide on IMAX. And by the way, while I say that, let me just point something out. I very soon will be able to release the entire list of every single country on which it's going live on IMAX. If your country doesn't have an IMAX screen, the film is also a really extraordinary experience on the biggest screen you can get. It's really about the sound, because that's where we did, I think, so much work to make it sonically one of the best possible experiences of Elvis speaking and singing that we could. Let me get some questions. Right. Okay, trusty assistants, what have we got? Okay. So Lady Moz says, how did I feel finding the footage? Well, Lady Moz, that is a great question. You know what happened was we were making Elvis the movie, and we'd heard about this rumored lost footage. Actually, one of our great maestros, Jan Ryan, who knows everything about Elvis, said, look, I think there are these lost reels from the Vegas show. And, and I actually, the first time I heard about it was when I was with Ernst Jorgensen. And Ernst is probably the world's most educated expert on Elvis. He just knows everything. He's made many of the release albums you've known about. And Ernst is an amazing amazing character and a great human being. And he said to me, well, the first thing he said is, you should make Elvis more Moulin Rouge than Moulin Rouge, in the sense of, don't hold back in going beyond just telling the A to B to C. Try and capture the spirit of Elvis. But he said there are these maybe lost reels, and I was thinking, how do we create the showroom? So the problem with actually getting old footage is that MGM stored all of their footage actually in salt mines in Kansas City beneath the ground. Now they do that so that moisture doesn't get into the negative and destroy it. So no one really had the money to go in and sort of do the Raiders of the Lost Ark search for the lost footage. But suddenly, because I'm making the movie, I had the resources and the money. And so we sent someone in to see it, to look for it. Now, I didn't actually go there, but I suddenly start seeing images where they find it in the vault of just all these boxes. And in fact, we found 69 boxes. I'll repeat that. 69 boxes of negative. I want to be clear about that. Of negative. The thing was, it was just decimated, like wrongly labeled, some just rotting, some spilled out. And we printed some of it and went, oh, we can't use it for the showroom. So it sat there, we made the movie. But then at the end of the movie, we had these 69 boxes of, we didn't really know what, like it was negative. So we managed to convince Sony Vision, thank you Sony Vision, they could see, they're putting some money, not a lot actually. I don't want anyone to think that we could just wave a wand. But our journey was, and this is something John O. Redman, who is my editor of many years, and producer on this film, and really my creative partner in this, we said, look, we've got to do something with it. We can't just put it back in the salt mines, And also, some of you guys had found out that we'd found the footage. Maybe I actually said we did, blame me. But the wonderful thing about that is that it was a bit like, release the footage. But leaving that aside, we just went like, we can't, in good conscience, just put it back inside. But we also didn't want to just, we didn't think we could, good idea to reheat, that's the way it is. Because it wasn't just anamorphic 35mm negative of the Vegas concerts, of which I think there are 6. I get my numbers wrong. I have to check with my team because I'm bad with numbers. 6 performances shot on anamorphic cameras. But we found 16mm of Elvis on tour, a lot of. And we were very lucky to be given, as we went on the process, access to 8mm that's never before seen. Now, our mission was to take that, and we visually wanted to take the quality of it. I was so lucky to work with Peter Jackson, yes, of Lord of the Rings fame in New Zealand, our New Zealand cousins, and his Park Road amazing team. And they had done wonderful things with the Beatles footage. So we were able to work with them in printing the film, and also work with them in taking out the degradation and any of the sort of depletion of the quality of the film through their processes. And that was very expensive. It's very expensive every minute. I mean, it wasn't expensive for them. They were actually really supportive financially. But the whole process is expensive because the big issue was the sound. We didn't find all the musical sound. And so what we had to do was search and search and search to get the sound that existed that had been either printed in work prints or spun off. Hard to understand, but the sound doesn't change. It just meant that we had quality sound, but we had to go and find it. And then we had a team who had to look at the pictures and the sound and go, well, he's actually singing that, or he's actually saying that. The big trigger moment came when we found this one tape, and it was Elvis, with no pictures, just speaking in a really unfiltered way about his life. And that's when the light bulb went on, where we went, look, what if we made not a documentary and not a reboot of the concert film, but there's been a lot of great docos made about Elvis, but it's often people talking about Elvis, telling you their story of Elvis. What if we could make almost like a dream where Elvis comes to you in a sort of private yet public concert or experience, and he sings and he tells his story to you unfiltered. And that was our aim. That's what we set out to do. So it's a kind of dream of Elvis coming and singing and telling his story. So to answer your question, by the way, it was a very simple question, which was, how did I feel when we found the footage? To be honest, when it turned up, we were storing it on the lot in Warner Brothers in LA. And when I first walked in and saw the boxes, one, it has this smell like vinegar, old negative. And so you knew it had come out of almost, I mean, I'm talking Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, it was like something coming out of Tutankhamun's, crypt. I think I just felt a sense of like, what will we discover through this material in front of us? And we just couldn't let go of that feeling. So, long answer for a very wonderful and short question. I do go on. You should be here. If you were talking to me, you would say, oh, we got it. Enough, Baz.
This one here?
So, Girl Mer 1. GRLEIME1. I'll be at the Gold Coast screening on St. February. That is awesome. I'm really excited. I'm very, very proud that we're going to do the very first. I'm going on a tour very soon. But the first thing we're going to do is open here on the Gold Coast, where we have our creative facility, because actually we were able to do a lot of the rebuilding of the sound here. And the sound, look, we had found Elvis's voice, and we had found in pristine condition, this is in second generation prints that had been run off, and we found the band. We did find that some of the orchestra was damaged, that some of the microphones weren't recording them properly, and so we had to do some replacement there. And then, of course, the film isn't, as I say, it isn't a concert film per se. It isn't a documentary. We wanted it to slide one moment from Elvis giving, absolutely pure, and what you hear is what he did on stage, performances of a song, but then to slip into him telling, almost inspired by the song, what it meant to him about his life. And then that required score, or that required an extrapolation of tune. And then we have this other element in it where when we've got him talking, we've created through what we call DNA, we've taken different Elvis songs and made new works, of which one of them's out right now, I think, And I hear